Hello, and welcome to the Green Island podcast. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Bernard Sheehan, joined by James Sheehan. We're the authors of Hard Border. This is the first in the Green Island novel series, and it is set around the hard border slash Brexit time in Ireland, and it is a novelization of maybe some things that were going on over there. But this podcast also will keep us up to date on current topics going on in Ireland, because there's a lot that's happening right now and it seems pretty dynamic basically day by day. So that's part of what we're doing here, and really appreciate folks listening. So, James, thanks for joining today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And great. Yeah, ready to jump into it.
Yeah, definitely. So, there's been a lot going on. We're on Connor watch here as he progresses towards the UFC fight, and also hopefully a run for president that seems to continue to gain steam. There was an article the other day, like, could Connor be the new Trump? So I threw it out there on our on our X account that, yeah, that would be great. But I know you've been keeping track of kind of like the progress towards the fight, especially.
Yeah, well, since I did the research for Conor McGregor, like the last couple episodes of when we've had him, like, so it is now going into my feed. So I'm kind of up to date, just basic, glances at it or whatnot. But, it's not confirmed that he's going to be fighting in UFC 300 as kind of, he declared he would. Dana White, as previous episode says, that it's not confirmed. And, Manny Pacquiao, as per the last episode, has invited him to do a boxing match like what Manny Pacquiao did, or what he did with Floyd Mayweather, which made them both a ton of money. So I think Manny Pacquiao wants a kind of a bite of that pie. And it'll be a good fight because they're both well-respected fighters. And Conor McGregor is not a bad boxer, so it should be a good watch. But I don't think he's going to be fighting. I mean, there's kind of a clip of him sparring that was just released today or yesterday, and the comments are he's stiff, he's bigger than normal, he's overweight, and people are kind of asking, what's going on. So there's a lot of questions about Conor McGregor. Maybe it's just a good life, and he hasn't been training as much, and he's promoting Prop 12 and watches and Lamborghini boats and everything like that between. So, and then of course the president runs. So, I would say, I don't anticipate he's fighting anytime soon now. But his sparring match got a lot of eyes just recently, and it didn't look all that impressive. I'm not an expert, so I didn't even really watch it. This is just a quick feedback I got from the commentators, and but they could be just throwing mud. I mean, for me, it does. I have no clue, whether he's in fighting form or not. I mean, as long as he's throwing punches and kicks and looks solid, it's good for me. But who knows if he's ready to step in with the real, the big guys in the UFC now. So that's the Conor watch. I just don't think he's probably going to be fighting anytime soon, because Dana White would probably love that revenue, even though there's probably a ton of Irish that come over to Las Vegas and go crazy. But we'll see what happens. But that's kind of the Conor watch. So I'll put the clip up of him sparring and let the readers or the listeners make the comments or their decisions for themselves.
Yeah.
Hello. Beautiful. Conor McGregor now integrates a karate style into his hands-up style. Beautiful. Slipped inside, then preemptively countered that jab with his backhand. And then you see it. He comes in with karate footwork. He slides in. Ooh, that karate footwork in and out. It's still there. It's still there. He integrates it into his new style. His new style being hands up. He integrates with a hands down style to a karate style to a hands up style. You see him here. Beautiful combination coming. Following, cutting him off, not giving him any space. Ooh, came in with a slip uppercut from the lead hand. Clatters to deliver. Again, he really felt it. Cutting him off, not giving him any space. Chasing him. Pounding him down. Just crushing his opponent. Now he's on top. And he rains down blows. Opponent gives him his back. Conor McGregor rises position. He rolls back on top.
10 seconds.
And there you have it. Conor McGregor, training MMA for Michael Chandler, sparring, integrating both the karate style and his hands-up boxing style.
Tough to make that weight, whether it's wrestling or fighting or boxing. It's just, you've got to get as lean as you possibly can and then be able to relax a little bit in front of the, before the actual fight, a day or whatever it is that you have. But it's just so hard to get that weight down. And like you say, he's been living a normal life, and that it's hard to get back in shape. It takes a while once you let that go. I saw a clip of Joe Rogan talking about it too, where he's just like, Conor lives the good life, and it cut to him out on like a yacht and stuff, and really just loving life. And I think Conor even commented on it too, and just said, "Hey, thanks, Joe, for kind of sticking up for me." And it was but at the same time, that's a far cry from a person who's going to be in shape for a fight. So
100%. And it's not like he's kind of like your normal typical UFC fighter that are kind of making a couple mil and are happy. I mean, he has hundreds of millions now just because of the, his own publicity, which is a hard, then that creates a real more luxurious life than a million a year or two, that kind of the fighters are staying in shape. They want more fight. They have more fight in them. Maybe it's a money thing, but when you have that amount of money, hundreds of millions, it's hard to kind of see, well, what's another fight going to do for me? Well, especially if he takes like a Manny Pacquiao fight, which he probably doesn't have to train for, as aggressively going up against, really hardcore UFC guys, where Manny Pacquiao is probably like 40 something now, but they're both making probably 100 mil off that. So it'd be interesting to see how he kind of works it out. But yeah, the weight thing, I mean, I knew wrestlers and saw some movies on or a TV show on kind of UFC, and man, weight is a nightmare, all the way down to you're starving yourself and like going in saunas and putting plastic bags over your body and just to sweat as much weight off. It's I don't know how they did it, but I saw that with wrestlers in college and stuff like that, and it was like it just seemed like a nightmare. I'm like, why are you doing all this? But they're just so addicted to it that they're used to it. But it seems like especially right before weigh-ins, that it's just absolutely hell.
Well, and if he's going to go against Manny Pacquiao, I believe he's a pretty small guy, so he's got to get that weight down for it to be fair and for them to be in the same weight class. That's going to be pretty tough.
Whether he even cares or not. I mean, I'd say Manny Pacquiao is a far superior boxer, but he did good against Floyd Mayweather, who's kind of more of a defensive boxer, from my, again, very unlimited or limited knowledge of it. But he's we'll see what he does. But I'd say Conor kind of is looking for the big UFC fight. I would almost say take the Manny Pacquiao fight, but he won't be known as legit. It's just it's more of a publicity stunt if he does take the Manny Pacquiao compared to going to UFC and getting back into the hard-nosed stuff, which, I mean, can he really compete against like the real big, the Stricklands of the UFC now that are, I don't know. I don't think so, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah, and that would be, I think his last two fights, if I'm not mistaken, were losses. So this would be, if he goes in, he's got to be ready for that. Otherwise, they're going to mess him up. That's just the reality of it.
I think he broke a leg in one of them too.
Yeah, he did.
I didn't watch it, so like there was a lot of recovery and stuff, and it's never the same. So and it's you're not working out, so it's hard to get back into that fighting shape, but. We'll see. It'll be a great watch, but he's definitely going to be milking the publicity from here until. I mean, Dana White's going to have to give him some time slaughter. He's never going to lay off of him,
Well, Dana White was as we're recording this, he was on a podcast, Howie Mandel's podcast. And he was like 30 seconds into it and walked off. Was just like, I'm done with this. I'm done doing podcasts now. So I don't know what it was that triggered him, but he was just. He wasn't in a good mood. I think that was either yesterday or today when that happened. So
Dana White, you are an amazing guy. I can't thank you enough for being here. You and Ginger seem to be getting along. You are not only an amazing businessman, you are an inspiration, you are a philosopher. The way you do business, the way you conduct your business and your friendships and media is, I'm jealous. But Dana, I can't thank you enough for being here.
Thank you for all the kind words. I appreciate it. I am so fucking tired of doing podcasts. I'm literally done with them. I'm not doing any more podcasts.
Would you really kind of do a podcast with liberal journalists these days? I mean, they're sent by the mothership to ask questions that have nothing to do with your sport, but more about personalities and stuff like that and things you don't control. And it's just to get a rise. I mean, it's like going on The View. Who in their right mind would go on The View these days?
I don't know. Yeah, but it's funny though, because I don't even think they got to the questions. I think it was just the intro, and that was enough for him to be like, I don't need this. Bye.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we'll put up the intro and see what it is, because he must have got triggered.
Yeah. Yep. So that's that with Connor. Again, we'll just continue to watch that here. We're getting closer to the Oscars with Killian as well. And I know they had like some kind of luncheon or something like that for the Oscars. So that is, getting closer and closer by the day. I believe the BAFTAs are before that. So, I mean, as it's mid-February now, I believe it's going to be like the next month. So not a whole lot to report there, other than it's still kind of chugging along. And it seems like quite honestly, it sounds like he's the favorite. So we'll see how that comes together as well. I mean, really nothing new from the standpoint of nominations or anything, but it does seem that Oppenheimer is really the one to beat.
Yeah, I would say he is the favorite, and they're kind of publicizing how he kind of went on a strict diet to get as skinny as Oppenheimer, which, I mean, I bumped into Cillian Murphy one time on the street, just coming out of my apartment. I lived in downtown Dublin, and I think he was on his way to Abbey Theatre, which is just across the river, like literally probably about 5-minute walk. And he's coming probably from the train station, which is just behind my apartment. And I bumped into him. I mean, you would think he's tall. He's not. He's like 5'7", I mean, he was up to my chest. I'm 6'5". I was kind of shocked, but he was super skinny already. Yeah. Like, you just know his face. So you're kind of, it was not and there was no one around. I mean, it was kind of a midday, and I was just coming out of the apartment, and it was hard to miss him, but he bumped into me because I was maybe I bumped into him, but you saw his face, and you're looking down, and I'm like, wow, you're short. Because if you see Peaky Blinders and stuff, you kind of think he's maybe like 6 foot something, and maybe he is, and maybe I'm wrong. But from my understanding, he was like 5'8", 5'7". But I mean, I look down on a lot of people, so I don't really measure how tall they are. The only things that freak me out is when I'm looking up at someone, I'm like, wow, that's crazy, Yeah. But otherwise, it's but losing weight. I mean, that's how Matthew McConaughey won for like some HIV movie, right. Lost a ton of weight. The extreme one was the Batman guy. What was his name? Who lost it for The Mechanic. I don't know if you ever saw that movie. Mechanic or Machinist Bale. Or whatever. Yeah, Christian Bale. I mean, that was crazy. Crazy.
He
stuff,
lost the weight, and then he had to put
it
on for Batman, which was the very next one. And they saw
and he looked bloated. That's why he looked bloated in it, because he kind of was putting on so much weight. But I mean, he went to the extreme, and that's a great movie, in all fairness to him. Like, it was pretty sad and stuff like that, kind of the end twist. But I don't think you should win just for losing weight, because that's your, getting paid millions of dollars. But again, from our last kind of 2 episodes ago, we weren't very high on Oppenheimer from a watch standpoint, but maybe there's nothing really out there that can kind of seize the day. And I know we mentioned the Paul Giamatti movie, which now I kind of have not watched it, but I saw the name. It's called The Holdovers.
Okay.
And that might have somewhat of a chance, but I think Oppenheimer's got it locked.
Yeah. Well, so we'll see. Kind of looking at Ireland today and some of the things that are going on there, as we said, there's so much news happening and so much like around immigration too that's out there. But one of the things that really struck us, especially since we've got some experience in it, is the boondoggle of the National Children's Hospital that just reported that they're going to be adding another 500 million to the bill and sending that over, making it one of the most expensive buildings like ever created. I mean, it's going to come in at a price tag of 2.5 billion euro for this building to be built, and it's just crazy. It's just like, this is this is going to be the most expensive hospital in the world. Well, yeah, it is. And what are you people doing over there? What is going on? I mean, it's a hospital. It's not like it's the hugest hospital, and it's going up against buildings like Wembley Stadium and things like that for the overall price tag. And it, to me, just screams government corruption. I mean, I could be wrong. That's my opinion, but it's just like, what the hell? I mean, if you've got a government program that's not only running over, but had a original budget out of the gate of 600 million, which is already high for like 300 beds, and now it's at 2.5 million. It's just like, okay, this is there is something really going on there, and it's just absolutely insane. And it seems to be something that's kind of capturing the imagination of people, but it's not in a good way.
Yeah, and I think you just misspoke, but it was 2.5 billion. It's bloody crazy, absolutely crazy. It's 400 beds. I analyzed it for them, and I mean, they're just so incompetent and so inefficient. And I mean, we're in the hospital business, and that's coming to about $7 million a bed. They're all single rooms. We used to build them. We were in the hospital development business, and we used to build them for about €1 million a bed back in 2004. So that's about a factor of 8 times over the last, say, 20 years. That is absolutely crazy. And you talk to them, because I then was in the hospital information systems, and they're going with the most expensive bureaucratic system on earth called Epic, which was implemented in a lot of US hospitals, but they can't get any sales anywhere else because no hospitals outside America are willing to pay 100 million for a hospital information system when you have good systems that'll cost you 30 or 20. So I was working with the hospital information system called Meditech, which is kind of like almost a standard back in the day, and they're upgrading and they're cheap. And I went to them and was like, look, I'll put not only in the children's hospital, I'll put them in all your hospitals for $1 billion. Like, that was unheard of. Like, if Epic came in, it would cost them like 8. And we were doing a SaaS model, and Meditech was working great. And they wouldn't even entertain it. They're like, no, we're going to go. I'm like, why are you going with Epic? You have no one in the country that can implement Epic. You have to bring people over at like 400 grand a head. I mean, you can name your price. That's just one example, but it's 400 beds. It's not like it's 4,000 beds.
Right.
And it's a children's hospital, but they kept on moving it around because they have what's called the Center of Excellence, which is an absolute joke. And they wanted to put them on these campuses of like the other public hospitals, whether it's St. James's or St. Vincent's or the Mater Public. But they are in the city center, which have like maybe an acre or two to offer up. It's just crazy. And so it's just, and it was kind of, they're doing the same with the National Maternity Hospital, which is like 10 years behind. And they don't know what to do. The nuns own most of the land in all these hospitals. They tried to, do a coup d'etat on them to take their land off of them. And they succeeded in one, but I kind of got involved and says, look, nuns, I'll buy your hospital from you. And I'll buy your land, and you have the public hospital that you're leasing to the government. We'll take that lease over. And it wasn't like it was kind of a joke. We had the money. We had the guys coming over from Arizona that were going to fund the bill and kind of give them, and the nuns didn't know what to do. And I was just like, they're like, well, they kind of took the land off of it. I'm just like, did they get the Pope's permission? You have to run all this through the Vatican, especially now, because there was so much corruption with kind of bishops giving land away to these governments, again, for sweetheart deals, for their own personal things. So I think everything has to go through the Vatican as of just the last 3 years. And I was just like, no, we'll buy it all. We'll build. And then if they wanted the maternity hospital there, we'll build it for them. And They were just, the government was pissed. The nuns didn't even want to talk to me. I had to go to like the not even the bishop, the cardinal of Dublin or Ireland. And I'm like, look, we have legitimate offers for this land because it was valuable land in center of Dublin. Like we were going to pinch off a couple acres and put up a couple residential high rises and stuff like that, which is always good when you're building hospitals because it brings a lot of amenity and you can get a lot of residential for a developer if you have your developer hat on. The nuns were just like, how, everybody was like, how dare you? It's just like, we're trying to put money in your pocket. We're trying to create a better product. And now you see what happens. The government, I don't know who's stealing the money. I don't know where the money goes because even that cost overrun of $500 million, you could build a whole bloody hospital for that.
That's right.
Fully equipped. I don't know where the other $2 billion's going. It's probably going in the, who knows where it's going, but it's certainly not. And what they do is because they're so inept that they start these projects without a fixed price contract. They start these projects without it fully being 100% designed because they think there's some sort of massive rush to get this done. Yep. And that's where it's like, if you ever talk to a contractor, like that's why they bid low or even below cost for public tenders, because they know an add, move, and change. Well, I'm going to charge 4 or 5 times that. Yeah. And this whole project was an add, move, and change. And you can see what it is. So I think they were going to kick off the construction group called BAM, which I know well. And they were like, BAM's like, great. There's a penalty of 200 million, and the whole that was on a project budget of like $1 billion. Like, kick us off if you want, but we're going to you're not going to be able to get out without all these fees. And there was a big kind of almost court battle that was going to brew, and they didn't know what to do, and they were stuck. And that's what happens when you have politicians who have no idea how to do anything except politics, and that's what they do. They're all kind of from grew up doing politics like in university, and then they're doing like work on, but they have no idea how to run campaigns. And this is the problem really with kind of that what do we call it, the parliamentary system of Europe and stuff, is that they get these politicians and now you're the minister of health and you're the minister of this. You have no experience in health. You have none. And like you're going to be in that job for 2 years, and then there's going to be a new minister of health who has no experience in health whatsoever. And they're in charge of all this. And it's like where I have 20 years of experience in health, and I can't even mainly get a job with them like as a project manager because, again, I'm blackballed, but it's beyond that. It's just they have it for their boys or their, the guys who have shown their fealty. It's like, you guys have no experience in how to build hospitals. We're the only ones who build hospitals, let alone in Ireland, but almost in Europe. For like the last 20 years, you guys have zero experience, but they don't care. It's just like, and you see how it is now with even in the US with the recent $95 billion for Ukraine. And Romney's like, it's the most important vote you ever make. It's just like, do you even you have even a clue what's going on in like your own country? It's just politicians have to be removed. There can be no more term limits have to be instigated. And it has to be almost kind of like if you're a successful businessman and made over a certain amount, you can run for politics. I know that's kind of almost anti-democratic, but again, these doing it where it's like, I'm going to be a bartender. Now I'm going to be a politician. And it's just like, because I can whip up votes and do social media and I'm a good looking. And now I have all this power. And it's just like, imagine like AOC in charge of all building a hospital.
But that's the thing. That's the way it would be. You're just picking some congressperson essentially to be that minister, and they have no idea what they're doing, and they don't care. They're not going to be held accountable. In this case, it's on 12 acres of property, but at the same time, there's all kinds of buildings there, and the site sucks. I mean, it's brutal. I'm looking at it, and this thing was supposed to be open 2 years ago, and it's just a boondoggle. I mean, this is just absolutely crazy. But we've been talking about this for 20 years now, like a children's hospital and replacing what they had. And of course, you knew it was going to go this way, that it would just be some kind of monstrosity. But man, $2.5 billion. It just shows how much money the government has that they can blow this. I mean, that is
they steal the money. They steal the money from everybody else so they can cover this crap. And it's like, if they just would have went 10 kilometers outside, they could have built all the university hospitals on one big campus now with this $2.2 billion and a children's hospital. They have ample amount of land. So most of the cities in Europe have like what's called a ring road because it's so congested, and everybody is mostly rural outside the ring road, which maybe is like 25 or 10 kilometers in Ireland's just outside. Ample amount of land you could have built nonstop, and people like that would have actually been easier for everybody that's not in Dublin to come to, because they don't have to go into the city center, which is a nightmare. It's like there's 3 arteries into the city center. They're always packed in the morning. They can't build any more roads because it's so like every city, it's so congested. But they just like, no, we got to put it on a campus of another university hospital. It's like, for this price, man, you could have taken the 3 university hospitals out of Dublin and built brand new ones, bigger, better, plus the children's hospital for that price of 2.2 billion. It just shows something's not right. The money can't disappear like that. It just like even add moves and changes and everything. It's still steel, it's still concrete, it's still land, it's still employees. Like, what is going on? Where's the money going? You can't spend that type of money. Something's not right. 500 million cost overrun. Like that's actually almost like, from the last time I looked at it, which was a cost overrun of 1.7 billion. It's just crazy. It's like, where's the money going? It's like, we need an excuse to rob the people, and we're just going to use the children's hospital because everybody wants the children. There's something not right there. But who's going to investigate it?
And that's just the cost of the building. Once it's up and operational, I mean, that's going to be a whole other ongoing cost that is just, I'm sorry, you're not going to get efficiency out of it if you can't create this building in the first place. And they're going on about a public digital hospital. Like you said, that's great. It's an IT system nobody knows how to use and nobody knows how to implement, other than maybe like 1 or 2 people in the entire country, if not the entire continent. So, you're bringing in Americans, or good luck. It's not happening.
And 100%. And it doesn't link up with any of the other hospitals, because you're going with Epic and all the other hospitals can't afford Epic. There's 40 hospitals in Ireland and not all of them can pay. That's $4 billion when you can get most of them have Meditech, or kind of a slimmed down version or an alternative that can be replaced with Meditech quite quickly. But why are you going with Epic? Why didn't you go with Meditech when most of the hospitals in Ireland have Meditech? It's just crazy. It's like, why do you have to go Epic? And if you saw the design, I mean, they think they're actually like building a casino in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Like, why did you have to take such an oblong kind of rugby ball or American football like building with no, like, you're trying to build an Apple headquarters? It's like the easiest, cheapest solution you can do is 90-degree angles and keep it cheap. And they're going for exact opposite. And it's like, who gives a crap? The kids don't give a crap. They're sick. The parents don't give a crap. They're sick. Like, what the hell is going on? And this is the problem. They're just so disconnected, and all they do, it's just, it boils my blood, man. It just boils my blood, because they steal from everybody else, and then they're wasting money, and you're just wondering, where's the money going? I don't know. Maybe it's just another way to bankrupt the country. Right. I just don't know.
Well, it reminds me of the projects you were looking at in like Abu Dhabi and Dubai, where it's just like they were just throwing money at it. The bigger, the better, even though it had nothing to do with healthcare or healthcare delivery. I mean, it was just, and now in Ireland, you're doing that. Give me a break. What are you doing? It's absolutely insane, but that's where it is now. And it was just too good that, of a topic that we couldn't ignore it. I mean, it's just, here it is now. Finally, it's not even done or close to being done. It's not going to get open this year, maybe not even next year. What it's like you say, it's blood boiling, but it's also, this is the results of what happens when you've got incompetence running your government.
Yeah, incompetence that projects that they're experts. I'm so tired of people saying, we talk to the experts. Who are these experts? Name them, because like, I'm an expert in it, and they won't consider me an expert, but they're always kind of, oh, there's experts here and experts there. It's just like, it's such a joke. We talk to the experts. Who are the experts that you're referring to? Right. I'm just so tired of it. And it just, and the Irish people just, but what are you going to do? Who are they going to vote in? It just seems like the whole system is just breaking, and it's just bad. And this is the incompetence. I mean, across the board. It's just everywhere. And I see why America and Ireland are so aligned, because this is exactly what would happen in Ireland or America. It's like, why do you need $4 billion for a new J. Edgar Hoover FBI building?
Right.
$4 billion. Like, what's going in there? Is there a nuclear missile silo underneath? I mean, the whole thing's just you 20 floors below the earth. I mean, none of this makes sense. It's getting a bit annoying. And I think people got to wake up, especially when everybody else is being starved because of inflation, that the governments are just writing checks that they can't, no one can cash, and it just dilutes the system and everybody's starving. But I think there's a method to madness, but I could see there's a great way to launder money out of the children's hospital just because it has that children's,
Bingo.
cover on it.
That's right. That's right. That's the way it feels to me, that this is a way to launder money, or you're paying, exorbitant rates to consultants for them to kick back into your campaigns or what have you, or hire you as consultants after, or lobbyists here in America after you've retired. I mean, that's the way this seems, as you mentioned, with regards to the defense industry here in the States. That's what they've been doing forever. And it's just it's a cash grab for everybody. And this is their method of doing it, it seems. And ultimately, again, no healthcare is being delivered, and nothing is, it's just an eyesore and a waste of money at an unbelievable level. But that's what they get.
2.5 billion. I mean, you could build, you could build 2,500 beds. I could build that 2,500 beds, brand new hospitals. Like, that's about 20 hospitals I could build,
Right.
At about 75 beds a hospital with full radiology, full radiotherapy, full oncology, full labs. It's just, and doctors' offices connected that would be rented out to the doctors. But you have all these crummy hospitals everywhere. They're like VA hospitals everywhere in Ireland, and yet they think they're going to build a Taj Mahal Children's Hospital. And if you see the university hospital next to it, it's a piece of crap.
Right.
And same with the other ones. It's like, you could have revamped all of them, and there's some reason why they're not. And it really is kind of a real problem, because if you go there, it's like a 6 people in a bedroom. It's like just disgusting. It's horrible. It's all over the country.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No. And I kind of looked at all these campuses that are so derelict, and they like add moves and changes. And I even did an experiment in Galway where I was going to offer them to buy their hospital and then move them out to another site that they owned. And we would we'd build their hospital on their site, or procure, and then we would take their old hospital, demolish it, and build residential, which is like, the license to print money. And that would offset the cost, and we can lower. Again, won't even entertain it. It's just like, you guys are just scumbags. That's all.
That's what they should have done here, because there's a housing shortage, and they're moving people. They're taking over hotels and moving people in who are invading your country. And it's just, everything they're doing is completely wrong. And quite honestly, it's on purpose. So, it's really insane. This, like you said, you were talking about the different hospitals that could be built, and they could be built all around the country, where people actually get access to healthcare without having to go to downtown Dublin, essentially, to get on the river. I mean, what the hell? Why? Who wants
100%.
to do that? If you're up in Donegal, good luck.
100%. They say, oh, there's a doctors, like, they're bringing in mostly foreign doctors anyways, because everybody who goes to be a doctor in Ireland now heads out to Australia or America almost right away for the better life, because the services are so crap. But Bern, it just proved this is another example of the secret communist regime of Ireland.
Yeah.
It's not democratic. There's they don't abide. It's just pure socialist communism, and they own everything. They own all the private hospitals indirectly through their oligarchs. They're just, through their banks, and they own everything, all the industries, and they're just crushing everybody. They, again, as I said, even in the food industry with the past episodes, they're just crushing every independent that to their and bringing them down from like 30 poultry producers down to 5. 5 beef guys down to 2, and they're all connected, and they're all doing the same scheme, and it's all running through the KPMG or PwC or Ernst & Young of Ireland, which you think, oh, well, they're a global accountancy firm. They're not. They're a franchise. And the franchise is kind of, well, they got a license to put KPMG on it, but it's the same old scumbags inside those entities that are just inside Ireland giving advice, and that's who they're paying off. Those type of guys.
Yep. Yep. So I know we went on a rant there, but it's a rant that need to happen. I mean, this is absolutely insane, but it's an example of how horribly Ireland's being run, and also the ultimate corruption that's going on there, and really reflected in Europe and over here in the States. So it's all tied in, but this is just their mechanism for how they're doing it over there, and just absolutely making a mess. And I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts, not one child gets served in there. It's going to be visitors from other countries that are going to be getting the vast amount of services.
Big time from emergency surgeries and stuff like that. And I can now, I mean, you see this price. I mean, you can understand why the government stole all our hospitals from us through their lawfare and judicial, because it's just like, we need more hospitals, but we can't build them. So we're going to steal them from the Americans,
Right.
that built them. They did it to UPMC and the Beacon. They did it to us. And it's just like, there's no lawfare. It's like, oh, the judges, you see, like, you think Trump's lawyer's bad in New York, that guy Eggeron or whatever, who I gave him a judge. I mean, our judges were far worse. And when we got a judge that has actually worked with us, they replaced him. They, it's in the book, Hard Border, but I mean, that's what they do. Like the one judge where we would have slammed dunk because he's not in the know. He wasn't an insider, and they replaced him. And you say, well, how do you replace a judge? You give him a promotion to the appeals court. It's the quickest promotion in the history of Ireland.
Yep.
We've set so much legal precedent of them trying to, again, and it's like, stop bringing lawsuits. Stop. It's just like, well, stop stealing our shit. And it's just like, well, we're just going to now screw you, change the precedents. We'll probably change it back. And by the way, we're going to start coming at, like, you better get, we were told, get out of this country because you brought them so far that you're breaking everything. They can't cover it up. They're going to arrest you to try to change the narrative. And I mentioned this in the last episode. It's just like, yeah, they want to arrest us. We built all their private hospitals. I mean, they're big ones, like they're most, and we made profit. And we were doing it great because we knew how to run them, but based on American models, not today's, but like 20 years ago's American model of how to do it. And but what happened then was they were so pissed off because we were showing up all their public hospitals.
Right.
They couldn't compete. The little old, and it was just, and then the other private hospitals that were owned by the nuns that were really owned by, non-for-profit boards, that there was one nun on it who was 85, like Joe Biden. It was really being run by a cabinet of PwC, KPMGs, and local guys that were doing what the system told them. So I can really understand why they stole our shit now. And because, well, it's a combination of everything, but they want to control health. And you're right. The people aren't going to be treated because they want to get rid of the white man. It'll be all used for the refugees now. It's a joke.
Well, one last story I just want to touch on, because there's a Chinese businessman, this was in the Irish Times the other day, who invested 30 million in Irish properties in a 5-star hotel, and he said that he was been defrauded of that, and his property's been taken away. So it's not just Americans, it's any foreign investor that comes in and tries to work in Ireland. So, my comment was, good luck. You're not going to get any justice in that country. So sorry, buddy. You've lost that dough.
100%. No justice at all, because it sets a precedent for everybody else, because they've stolen everybody's money.
Yep.
Everybody that had, like, if you weren't, and then you see the oligarchs who like, oh, we sold this. They're such puppets, man. They're going to get their 10 or 20% when all their assets are sold, but they're not billionaires. Yep. They're working for the system. They're living the high life. We're putting you, and I would say that goes for a lot of American or some oligarchs as well, but they're just work for the system, and we're going to grab everybody's assets, and because we're insiders.
That's right.
That's it. See, there's only a few billionaires in our whatever. So a lot of people would go to them. It's like, well, I want to refinance. Will you come on board? And the bad thing is, you just didn't understand. It's like the minute you brought them on board, the minute your coffin was closed, because they're actually working with the guys that are trying to close you out, and they're working inside. So they're going to stop your dividend, is what they happened with us. It didn't matter if it was ironclad in the shareholders agreement. They were still stopping the dividend to starve us out from bringing legals, paying off loans, and our assets were all debt free, most of them, almost all of them, and they still took it from us.
Yep. Well, thanks, James. I know this was a long one, but we need to get this out. Appreciate it. Thank you for listening, everyone, to the podcast today. More to come on this, but again, this is the Irish way, so this is what we're talking about, and now you're seeing it for yourself in real time. So thank you. Thanks, James, for joining tonight.
Thanks very much, Bern. Take
Talk
care
to
of
you.
yourself.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.